everybody, and welcome to the United Nations World World of the Ocean, or World of the Oceans. There is always a disagreement whether the ocean is really one huge global phenomenon that turns our glorious planet blue when anybody looks at it, or whether it is also, we speak of the seven seas, but it is our life, our ocean. So welcome to all of you for joining us for this United Nations World Oceans Day, commemorating in song and poetry our great ocean or oceans. Thank you, John Curl, for being our Zoom host. Thank you to the Revolutionary Poets Brigade for hosting this event and sponsoring it. And of course, we want you all to be aware of the next anthology, Storm Warning, Poets for the Planet, that will be coming out, and we'll be having a reading in July. And John has been a major editor for that. Kristina and I have also been co-editors with this project, and so it's very exciting. So a lot of things going on this summer, but right now we are concentrating on our glorious ocean, and we want to actually don't want to forget to honor Richard Sanderell. We honored him last year. He is our late great muse who always thought of the Ohlone, of the indigenous people upon whose land we do all of our work and play and creative efforts. And he was noted for saying, and I'm not sure I always quote this right, but he will say, just because you stole something doesn't mean you own it. And with this, he would begin all of his poetry. So I want us to honor Richard for being a great muse to all of us, and one who always reminded us of our heritage and our debt to the great indigenous peoples of this country, and particularly now here, the Ohlone in San Francisco and California. So it is appropriate that we are celebrating and honoring the ocean today, the ocean that covers 71% of our earth, that sustains and nourishes us, that has seen countless tragedies as well as victories in the movement of people seeking new places to live and flourish when their original homes become unlivable, or when they are simply seeking new horizons. We are unfortunately aware that this is the 55th anniversary of the tragic attack on the USS Liberty in 1967, and many of you are aware of that. It was many Americans were killed, and it was an Israeli attack, and we are all just so sorry that that happened. There are, of course, many tragedies that our oceans have witnessed, sometimes in targeted attacks of one people against another, sometimes the result of refugees fleeing a hostile environment, sometimes simply the result of failures of communication. Today, our major worry for me, perhaps for many of us, is climate change, which is affecting our oceans greatly. From melting polar ice caps, acidification, pollution, overfishing, mining, human error, and avarice seem to know no bounds. So that is one thing that I think many people will be talking about today. We continue to see the disappearance of species, from 10 vaquitas left in the world, just 10, to dead dolphins facing acoustic trauma in the Black Sea due to sonar vibrations. And this United Nations World Ocean Day, we want to commit to positively working towards sustainable oceans. We open our program today with Chanteys from Peter Kasin and Richard Adrianowicz. Oh, Chanteys, gosh, already. We open poetry reading this evening to the Chanteys, which will be commemorated and sung by Richard and Peter. They have been recording since 2003, maybe before that. They've recorded 4 albums together, performed at festivals all over the world, and it's just wonderful for us to be able to open our tribute to the ocean with their Chanteys. So here's to Richard and Peter.
Thank you, Karen. Thanks for having us back. I'll sing one, and then I'll hand it over to Richard to sing one, and then we'll...
Everybody else, please mute.
And then we'll get back to the poetry. So this is a capstan shanty for Raising Anchor. It usually took 3 to 4 hours to raise an anchor, so I'll be done with the shanty at about maybe 10:30 tonight or so. No, I'll do 2 verses of one. There were 4 verses collected. It's called the Anglesey. That was the name of a ship. Capstan shanties have longer choruses than hauling shanties, so you might not be able to pick up this chorus, but I'll start with the first verse. Here we go. It was one fine day in the month of May, and I was outward bound. I hadn't any tin to pay for gin, so I walked the streets all round. My coat was out at the elbows, and I was sore in need, so I shipped as a little sailor boy on board of the Anglesey. Then no more I'll go to sea across the western ocean, a haulin' and a pullin'. I never will again, and no more I'll go to sea across the western ocean. Forevermore I'll stay on shore and go to sea no more. No more I'll shout, oh well, no more for me the first lookout, the more the will I'll take. No more gaff topsail tacks I'll shift, nor haul till me back does break. No more will I shout, all well, sir, nor pump away for life, but I'll go ashore and get a wife on aboard of the Anglesey. Then no more I'll go to sea across the western ocean, a haulin' and a pullin'. I never will again. Then no more I'll go to sea across the western ocean. Forevermore I'll stay on shore and go to sea no more. Thank you.
Okay, we'll continue with another capstan shanty. This is called Bound to California, and this came out of the California Gold Rush. Goodbye, my lads, goodbye. No one can tell me why I am bound to California to reap the shining gold. Goodbye, my lads, goodbye. No one can tell me why I am bound to California to reap the shining gold. We're bound around Cape Horn. Goodbye, my lads, goodbye, where the stormy winds do blow. So heave, my bullies, heave, ho, around Cape Horn in May. Goodbye, my lads, goodbye, Cape Horn is a very long way. So heave, my bullies, heave, goodbye, my lads, goodbye. No one can tell me why I am bound to California to reap the shining gold. Goodbye, my lads, goodbye. No one can tell me why I am bound to California to reap the shining gold. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you so much, Peter and Richard, for reminding us of that heritage and those songs. Just great. Thank you. All right, everybody, please do remember to mute. I know you all are pros at this. I will be calling the poets in pretty much alphabetical order, maybe not exactly as it was on the flyer, because that wasn't exactly alphabetical, but I'm going to do my best. And then I'll turn the moderating over to John Curl towards the end or midway through, and he's our Zoom host. Thank you, John. And he will introduce the final poets. Now we have the great Dee Allen, a wonderful performance poet and great friend who will start us off for our evening of poetry. Dee, so great to see you.
Silent Blue, Dorsimbra. Can any of y'all hear me okay? Give me the thumbs up or press the reactions button for thumbs up. Cool. First poem called Silent Blue, a Dorsimbra poem. All life began at the ocean bottoms, with the amoeba tiny shape altered to catalyze, formed the first fish swimming down fathoms, Marine denizens came, differing in size. Eventually, fish reached dry land. Fins became
what?
legs. Fins became legs. Foe as clammy amphibian, then scaly reptile. Faux legs grew as two. Sentient life split. Some gained mass as dinosaurs. Others, hairy primates, too advanced for the ocean. Civilization's byproducts spoiled the deep silent blue. Spilled oil, chemical runoff, trash from cities and passing ships. Our old aquatic connection forsaken. The fact long forgotten that all life began at the ocean bottoms. That was called Silent Blue, my first attempt at a Dorsimbra poem, written especially for World Oceans Day 2021. And the last poem comes from my fifth book, Eloise Poems, 2013 to 2018, released Earth Day 2020. From section 2 of the book entitled Beauty of Nature, from page 22, this is my ode to water called Clear Gold. 71% of Earth, 60% of us, gathering gray clouds, streaks of lightning, thunder rolls, Gaia takes another shower, cleansed each time, refreshed by this. Absorbing into leaves from rain, deer lapping it up from woodland streams, pathway to the safety of the river bottom for swimming fish. Cities steal veins, flow it through our faucets, matrix of life, sated by this. Corporations monopolize, keep private what was formerly free, sold back to us, plastic bottles of this. Fear lingers in the hearts of some who care that in future wars, soldiers or drones will fight to the death. The final prize, this, clear gold. "71% of Earth, 60% of us, of greater value than any solid gold."
Thank you so much, Dee. Yes. Clear
And that
gold.
last poem was called Clear Gold, my ode to water, written on Mother's Day 2014, when California was still in the middle of one of its worst droughts ever. That lasted between 2012 and 2016, 4 straight years of little to no rainfall at all. And I had to write something about an element that all of us have been missing. Since then, I have never taken this or this for granted ever again. And that poem came from Eloise, available from Conviction to Change Publishing. From this mic to your ears, I'm D. Allen. Thanks for listening. Happy World Oceans Day.
Thank you so much, Dee. Fantastic. And now we would be inviting Nahid Arya. I don't see you there. Are you there, Nahid? No. Okay, well, you come in later. We'll introduce you later. Tommi, I know you're there, and thank you so much for coming. Tommi Avicolli-Mecca, Southern Italian poet and activist whose work has been published in anthologies, journals, newspapers, books, and his latest solo theater work, The Old Brown Jacket, which is fantastic. I saw that a long time ago, was performed at the Marsh and Stageworks. So we welcome you, Tommi.
Okay. Fish out of water, we can never go back. Stranded on land, we can't plant roots in the ground like trees that grow to be elders, or sprout wings like the birds we envy. We're noisy, unruly neighbors, unkempt poltergeists, bad apples. We're overdrawn on time. The environmental bomb we detonated is about to go off. There's no air raid shelter, no planet B. When the waters and the temperatures rise, the empires and the stock markets crumble, and a weary Mama Nature tosses our bones back into the ocean. And I'll end with this, which is even more cynical than that one. It's called Usual Suspect. Murder scene, a dead zone in the ocean caused by excessive blooms of algae that depleted all the oxygen. Suspects, repeat offenders, still at large, described as human, 5 foot to 6'7". Hair color varies. Eyes, too. Considered armed and dangerous, possessing weapons of mass destruction, known to dump plastics, fishing nets, and toxic chemicals. Priors include destruction of coral reefs and habitats, and oil spills in the Gulf and along the coast. Last sighted on land, sea, and in the air. Usual alibi? Imaginary deity gave them dominion over the planet. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you, Tommi. Christina Brown, I see you there. Writer, painter, poet, activist, you name it. She often writes about what people will and will not do for love. She is also an editor with a few of us of the anthology, which is coming with past anthologies and an anthology coming out, Storm Warning, Poets for the Planet. So welcome, Christina Brown.
Thank you, Karen, for making this possible. And thank you, John, for running this Zoom meeting. And thank you, everyone, for being here, especially our singers. We love the sea, Ocean Beach. Water, salt water, is the stuff of our bodies, the foundation of all life on the planet, the engine of the air, our atmosphere and weather. We love the sea. We love to swim and float and sail and surf and dive, but we dare not dive too deep or swim out too far. We cannot breathe water, cannot drink the sea. We're safer on the beach or at the top of a mountain looking down at the sparkling waves. To go out to sea without a boat is to invite death. This sunny afternoon at Ocean Beach, sailboarders and surfers and parasailers skitter across the wide water. We play with the forces of the sea and the wind, but the rip currents flow fast, sweep someone away almost every year. Unknowing waders in 1 foot of water and experienced surfers who knew all the breaks are pulled away out to sea, are only sometimes rescued or manage to swim free. The ocean, the sea, can be like love, any kind of love. You don't know how dangerous it is until you're in too deep to easily withdraw. The ocean can be like love in the best way, too. It can bear you up above and beyond all expectation, lift you into the sun and air, allow you to breathe and feel free to be yourself. Or like love, the sea can smash you down into the lowest depths, never let you be seen again, grind your corpse for fish food. How any voyage goes depends on accurate information, good judgment, and luck. We do not want to be like Shelley and sail into the storm, end up drowned. But sometimes we must fly into the tempest. To wait is to be smashed to pieces in port, never to take off again. So grab your flotation device, your giant pink plastic flamingo, or whatever form your confidence or courage or spirit takes, and leap into love and life. But be careful. The surf's always up, and rip currents hide everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kristina. Great warnings. Beautifully done, or warnings to us. John Curl, our Zoom host here, is a poet, activist, carpenter, author of several books, including those on collectivism and ancient American poets. He is the major editor for the Revolutionary Poets Brigade anthologies on overthrowing capitalism, building socialism, and our new anthology, Storm Warning. Very active in the poetry realm. And he is going to now be our reader. So welcome, John Curl.
Thank you so much, Karen. I brought two poems today. The first one is called Mutiny. Don't take your chains so personally. Keep them in perspective. Human life will someday cease. Even life itself, all energy slowing into nowhere, no when, the universe like a giant eye closing shut. And even then, what dreams the universe might then dream. Still, now is, and is here. And that is all you and I will ever see, no matter how many different realities we may have seen or may see. And now, here, you and I are chained, some to the oars and some in the hold of a slave galley. And petty master swaggers down the row and flicks his whip and mutters about how lucky we are to be free to choose between the guard-stalked ship and the shark-prowled sea. As we patrol the oceans of the world in search of booty, plundering all we meet and murdering all who would resist. And each morning, the captain appears on the bridge in his pinstriped suit and salutes as the guard raises the colors. The bugler blows of stripes and stars, but we fly the Jolly Roger. And you and I, poor slaves in the scheme of all that exists, what can we do but salute when we're told, pull our oars, remember, be, and persist until the world somehow works through all this pain to some better eventually? But deep down, we all know we'll never reach shore until we mutiny.
Thank you, John.
I have one more poem.
Are you doing another one?
Yeah, I'm doing another one.
Yes.
It's called Cloud Castles. After all this blood, here we are, still torn in this crisis of destruction and delusion. At a time like this, how can we even think of celebration? Remember that hazy summer day we lay side by side in the grass, gazing lazily into the clouds? Tell me, what do you see? A dolphin jumping through a wave, a swaying palm tree, a field of corn, a rhinoceros horn, wind and rain, the shapes change, a swooping bumblebee, a raging storm at sea, a crimson bird soaring across the horizon, a frowning clown, an angry crowd, a thundering herd of bison. Look up into the clouds. Tell me what you see. Grim masks in crowded dungeons, prisoners whispering forbidden thoughts forever unfinished, midwives hugging bleeding infants, orphans holding endless wakes, widows seizing lost childhoods, concrete collapsing bridges and dams, toxic water gushing through neighborhoods, broken priests torturing war dogs, just everyday terror and plunder. Boys murdering men, murdering women, forests blazing, animals fleeing, all the great-grandchildren scream, the gangster banker regime, the loathsome empire's last bitter crimes, drip, drip, dripping dark blood splatters on the last rotting dreams, clotting in the last gutter. None of this will ever be forgotten. Yet, it is written, invincible regimes collapse. All-powerful empires swept away to nowhere. New civilizations arise from the earth with a kiss. The clouds change. The moment of celebration is to be. Remember that hazy summer day we lay lazily in the grass, gazing up into the sky. Tell me, what do you see? Lovers in a filthy jail. The rings on a tiger's tail, salmon creeks, flamingo beaks, grazing gazelles, Buddha bells, flowering Joshua trees, sunrise over turquoise seas. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Cloud Castles. Ironic and beautiful. Thank you. Lucille Long, award-winning author of 7 poetry collections, 4 poetry chapbooks, 2 children's books, and a memoir. And that was just last year, so there may be more. She writes on birds, place, nature, and our first peoples, and is, in my estimation, famous for a great poem she wrote on how all the states' names originated from indigenous people's names. I don't know, they all did, but it's a great poem, and it really takes you back to what our American history, the history of this country, whatever, is all about. So welcome to you, Lucille Long.
Thank you very much, Karen. I'm going to read 2 poems, and the first one is called Sea of Japan, Kanazawa to Sakcho. The sea is calm today, the ship on autopilot, our course set at 283 degrees northwest. The US has issued a warning. Airliners flying over the Persian Gulf risk being shot down by the Iranians. At least 2 people staff the bridge around the clock to watch for obstacles, tsunamis, storms. But the captain is always on standby, even when sleeping. The Sea of Japan gently rises and falls. China calls it the Whale Sea, Korea the East Sea. Below the surface, sardines, mackerels, and salmon hold their festival despite nitric acid, plastic, overfishing, and giant jellyfish blooms. In Sakcho, flame jellyfish are served in salad, while glistening fish hang in crowded markets with open mouths. And the second poem I'm going to read is from my book, Birds of San Pancho and Other Poems of Place. And this one will take us to a different part of the planet. This one is called On the Aegean. Rosy-fingered dawn reaches over silhouetted hillsides studded with scrubby oaks. Cypress spires point toward the sky above cliffs that drop abruptly to the amoeboid coast, whose pseudopods of land project into the sea as villages on the shoreline wink and glitter. We stop on dry, rocky islands where windmills keep turning on hills with white stone houses on narrow, winding streets. Vineyards grow without irrigation, vines close to earth in constant wind. The grapes will be stomped by foot, then goats will clear weeds. The sea is turquoise close to shore, dark blue farther out where the water is deeper. Between islands, the sea leaps and churns. It undulates, ever changing in shape and color. 7-foot swells crowned with foam look twice that high. I watch, amazed from a porthole. I'm not seasick, but wonder if I should be afraid on this sailing ship so far from land. No, people crossed this way thousands of years ago. Refugees today cling to boats that leak. I close my eyes. The sea rocks me to sleep. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucille. Just beautiful. Thank you. I'm so glad to, I didn't mention it. So that's your latest publication, I believe you were reading from. So wonderful. Carol Denny, are you here? Carol, if not, we're gonna have to go on. I was really looking forward to her singing us up a storm. So maybe she'll arrive later. Tongo Eisen Martin, are you there? Tongo? Okay. Agneta Falk? Okay. Wow. Christopher George, hey, I know you're here. Christopher George was born in Liverpool, England, and he came to the United States in 1955. His poetry has been, and he has a poetry site at chrisgeorge.net, published.net. And I meet Chris all the time on Zoom now that we have a global poetry community. So welcome, Christopher. So glad you're here.
Thank you, Karen. Glad to be here. Let me use the share screen. If I can find my right document. Okay, this is a illustration from the Art Nouveau period, 1893, Jean Delville, Medusa. And this is a poem I've written about the Green Salon Collective, who recycle all the products from the hairdressing salons that are part of the collective, including the hair. Medusa meets the Green Salon Collective and has a quote from their website. An American hairdresser back in 1989 named Philip McCroy came up with the idea of using hair to stop the spread of oil in the sea. Essentially, a hair boom is hair cuttings, tightly packed into cotton or nylon tubes. When placed in either water or on the shores of beaches, these booms will stop oil from spreading, saving wildlife and the natural landscape. Medusa could not have dreamed how her luxuriant tresses could have been collected by the environmentally aware to create barriers to help herd and corral oil spills, to protect kelp forests, which surge from the sea floor toward the sunlight. That kelp, so dependent on pure, clean, pollution-free seawater. Glimmering fish dependent on the kelp beds. Fish-eating anemones dependent on the glittery fish, as are the sea otters basking on their backs in the sun, preening and seemingly carefree, unaware of how precarious is the lasting existence of their beloved habitat. And I'll finish with this poem. It's about a tragedy that occurred in the evening of February 5th, 2004 in Morecambe Bay on the Irish Sea in northwest England. And that's a monument that you see on the left there, that's on the headland overlooking the bay. Morecambe Bay Cockler's tragedy. Chinese cocklers dig and rake the sand for small wages from a snakehead gang as the insistent, swift, cold tide creeps, and from the fells, frigid wind sweeps across the shallow bay, so deceptive, ride the floodwaters of silent, stealthy tides, where 32 immigrants dig and rake while the cold, swift water surges to take faster than a man can run, trapping them between channels, nowhere to go. Some used mobile phones to call Fujian or cry in panic, and 18 cocklers die as the insistent, swift, cold tide creeps, and from the fells, frigid wind sweeps. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christopher. I love this global feeling of getting out there where none of us, I think, have been, except you, maybe. Just wonderful. We welcome Clara Shu, owner of Clarion Music Store, playwright, poet, activist, a remarkable advocate for the Chinese American community here in San Francisco. Thank you so much, Clara, for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I'm very glad to be here. I have two poems to share. The first one is titled A Sea Between the Ripples. I told you on that windy day as we sat on the beach, the seagull hopping with one stump was oblivious of its savored claws, and the shell with the iridescent pearl may not appreciate its pregnancy. Through rock crevices where water rushed into tide pools, there's a sea between the ripples. As the sun started falling, I said, it was for love that we should part. The wind began to howl, gathered sand and flung them hard. It was not the pain on my cheeks, nor your cold stare that made me cry, but the tiny grains scattered in the air that had intruded my eyes. As we picked our way home, I found the path wound under our feet was never the same road twice. When our muddled footsteps, the slime of snails, pebbles, seaweed, and down of gulls sown legacy in the soil. I asked you as we settled beside a cackling fire, spiced tea warming our hands. In our limited number of days, there was more life between time than we could ever live. Why then should nostalgia lingers and the present we let go? The second poem is titled Catwalk. I was imagining the ocean being a woman, and during the different times of the day, how she changes. Catwalk. The first one appears genteel, slow forming in the vapor-filled air. Strands of foamy pearls swing low on her gray chiffon dress. Dawn is but an old lady. Yet, as the hours march on, her skin turns supple and warm, even hot-blooded, laughs with her head thrown back, shoulders bare, her admiral crepe pin-pricked with golden sequins. One maiden, then several more, giggling, shuffle forward, blushing at their own awkwardness and the liquefaction of their multicolored chins. They drown happily with the tipsy sun. And who comes to mourn them but an elegant dame, her neck laden with silvery sickles, her body wrapped in black bombazine, weeping and sighing as she rustles down the walk, retreats as the watery moon rises, taking with her a few broken shells. Thank you.
What a lovely reverie on shells and cockles. Yes, thank you, Clara. If Mark Lipman is not, I don't see him here, then I guess I'm up. Alphabetically, it's my turn. I'm Karen, and Melander Magoon, I'm the M, there you can see that. And I will read my poem In the Beginning, which will appear in my book, Ghosts and Angels, side by side with the great ocean that I read last year. In the beginning, burbling from Earth's core, gases burst through molten layers, mingling with stratospheric mist, wrapping ghosts, slam wrapping in cosmic gas, embracing Earth in atmosphere, breeding hydrosphere for life, rhythmic turmoil boiling over, source to sinkholes, spewing gaseous residues towards the Milky Way, reaching back 4 billion years, where cooled compression tears away at crusting Earth, now birthing oceans, molten fury thrust into a hydrosphere, carbon gases, carbonic acid breed with oceanic microbes, ancestors of plankton, carriers of oxygen, photosynthesis of molecules in water, incipient whales and dinosaurs, life crawling from ocean depths, once gases spewed from earthen core, transformed into both land and water, layered upon majestic Earth. Beneath her atmospheric girdle, churning microbes, miracles of life, as tides discover order in the moon, and Earth spins slowly turning towards both freeze and fire, ice and granite soil and breath, from red and black and brown to green and blue and rainbow hues as atmosphere and hydrosphere discover sunrise and sunset. Synergy of breath of plant and mammal, photosynthesis of carbons into oxygen, sea and air, glaciers and forest, living germs emerge within Earth's womb, once burbling up in gases, now burbling human form, rocked in cradles of all colors, called forth from Earth like Venus, walking through a mighty ocean into Eden's paths and gardens, into thought and choice and love, into all that is beneath, within, above. Thank you. I'll be doing another one later, so thank you. And I'm so happy to bring you Sarah Menefee, poet and homeless movement activist, a founding member of the League of Revolutionaries for a New America, the Revolutionary Poets Brigade, and First They Came for the Homeless. Her latest book is The Brilliant Cement. After Sarah, I will turn the moderating over to John Curl, So let's now welcome Sarah Menefee. Thank you.
Sarah, you need to unmute.
I need to mute.
Oh my God, I forgot. Sorry. I said I'm very pleased to be part of this wonderful event that's so far beautiful, oceanic. And so let me get to my document here. I have a poem to read. There's a picture on social media of a very small fish that is almost completely transparent. The bare outline of a body, a silver nail of an eye, no ribs, and a subtle little spine, barely sketched into being. Utterly one almost with a vast ocean that's its cosmic existence. How did we evolve this armor that imperils oceans like a matricide? We who crawled from her to enjoy Earth's roses, here in forever emergence that moves the ecstatic tides, swimming lost in the light of our local star, wishing to merge with the great pure heart of being that plays its joy in Earth's great waters. Thank you.
Are you doing another one, Sarah? Then I'll just turn this
Okay.
over to John. Welcome, John. We're delighted to have you for the next half. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. So we're going to start the second half with Antoinette Payne, who is a poet and activist and one of the mainstays of one of our favorite weekly readings at Sacred Grounds. And it's all yours, Antoinette.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here this evening, and it's a wonderful venue and a really good cause. So I have one short one that I wrote specifically for this. It's called Beyond the Sea. Desperation, migration, dispersion, stepping across oceans from my familiar shore, starting over, never to return. In stillness, listen. Drops of water immersed, la mer, her own emotion. She is peaceful, lapping, traveler, harboring hope for some new home. Waveless, windless, unknown advances turn rough. Self-determined mercy at sea. Hold on to what you can. Pray each perilous moment brings us closer to a safer shore before we too fall overboard. The plight of immigrants coming to a safer shore. And then I secondly have this other poem that I wrote a while back, but it's entitled Oceans. One body mutated over time, permeated over eons, seeping into separations, imagined distinctions made real. Atlantic meets Pacific, Amazon turned Nile. Further into freshwater glaciers, currents bring salty ocean water back, giving everything that ever touched you, transitioning one big, wet, complete body, transformative, ether to flesh to ether again, ancestors caught up in the bardo, leading from some long-awaited beginning, resembling their end, tracking unseen habits that fashion character, cause and effect running together, simultaneous thoughts realized to perception. We are not alone in experiencing the effects of our seeing. We are not alone in experiencing the effects of our thoughts. The last two lines are from A Course in Miracles. That's it. Thank you so much.
Beautiful, Antoinette. That's great. Our next reader is Gregory Pond, who was born in Brooklyn to Panamanian parents. And he's the author of 4 books of poetry. He's a long-term member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade of San Francisco and is a facilitator of Poetically Speaking, a weekly conference call program for seniors. Greg?
Thank you, John. Thank you, Karen. And good evening, everybody. I didn't write a poem for tonight, but I'd like to share a poem that was written by a poet that we all are familiar with, Q.R. Hand. And this is entitled, Numberless Are the Sands on the Seashore, for Meredith, who turned me onto the song. Us folks are the peoples who look towards the sea, vision and memory, past, perfect futures are strewn about our musics like seaweeds on the shore. Our eyes, hearts affired, dancing on limbs, aghast and bedazzled, caressing these sands, hand-clapping spirits. Our souls are numberless. Like bands of the spectrum, our hues are numberless. Jump back, brothers, see our sisters prancing on the sea, their curves and spheres rounding off the edges of the sands, making sheets of molten glisten. We are evocations of this sweet liquid strumming on these vibrant far reaches, on our faithful shore. This ritual clamor, we are on this shore, spelling out the seasons of reason, numberless. Beings grow gills, sprout wings, drunken on the bottom of pink coral reef, then leap the sea, sailing easy to afar. To a star we are, stone reflections of, to view from there, these sands, who do not know they are us. Not these sands, our foundations on these wheels of things, rolling shore, surf washed, waves yearn to roll in murmurs on. These grits are relentless too, in change, in forms numberless, pastel in pale yellows, mixed by the sea, wind, sun, our constant companions on this sphere, on this beachhead here, on our minds, and communal heart molds sands into cities and ports to welcome from the sea more ancestors to be, to play on this shore, notes of universal hide, seek. Time here is numberless. We've known not its name. We are the growth here. We are the trees. We are the creatures here. So it is said, on which cosmic bet no wages subsist. Numberless are the names of this life on these sands, on the dream washed up on these shores. Us folks are on, the peoples who look towards the sea. Looking towards the sea, our songs are the bread of the shore. Our spirits are spawn on these quick sands. We name ourselves numberless. Thank you very much. That was Q.R. Hand.
Wow, thank you so much, Greg. Q.R. Hand, a very great poet and a very great person too. Just a really great, very great guy. We really miss him. You can still hear his voice. You can still hear his voice. So he's very unique poet, very great guy, very great poet. Jami Proctor Shu is a bilingual poet and translator who writes in Chinese and English. She is the recipient of the Zhu Liang Poetry Award and the First Readers Poetry Award. Her translations of Song Lin's collection, Sunday Sparrows, received the Northern California Book Award for Poetry in Translation. Jami?
Oh, hi, everybody. I just want to say thank you so much to Karen and John for putting this together. I remember last year it was a really incredible event, and I'm just honored to be here with all of you and so many beloved poets. I'm gonna do something different today because when I was sitting with what to read tonight, I realized I didn't want to read any of the work that I'm translating or things that I'm doing right now. I was sitting with the violence, the gun violence in the schools, and also how that links back to the whole history of US sanctioned and violence against children and their caretakers, the genocide of Indigenous Americans, the Indian boarding schools, wars the US has carried out and in the US and around the world, the massacres in Sand Creek, My Lai, and other places, and the killings in our schools right now. So I'm reading this with a belief that words can carry us in our grief, and that rivers hold us, water helps us and cleanses us. And I'm gonna read this for all those mourning loved ones killed by gun violence. And I'm weaving in a song that's actually Peter Gabriel's song, Washing of the Water. And normally I don't sing in public, but this is what came to me as I sat with what to read today. So I'm singing here for those who died and those who grieve in Uvalde and around the country and around the world. Their beloveds, all of them and all of you. See if I can get through this. River, river, carry me on to the place where I come from. McKenna Lee Elrod, Layla Salazar, Miranda Mathis, Navae Bravo. So deep, so wide, Jose Manuel Flores Jr., will you take me on your back for a ride? Javier Lopez, if I should fall. Tess Marie Mata, would you swallow me deep inside? Rogelio Torres, river, show me how to float. Eliana, Ellie, Amaya Garcia, I feel like I'm sinking down. Eliana A. Torres, thought that I could get along. Annabelle Guadalupe Rodriguez, but here in this water, my feet won't touch the ground. Jackie Cesares, I need something to turn myself around. Uzziah Garcia, Jace Carmelo Luevanos, till the washing of the water, make it all right. Let your waters reach me like she reached me tonight. Maite Uliane Rodriguez, Hyla Nicole Seguero. River, oh river, river running deep. Irma Garcia, Ava Mireles, bring me something that will let me get to sleep. Amory Joe Garza, in the washing of the water, will you take it all away? Alejandria Lexi Anaya Rubio, Bring me something to take this pain away. Alethea Ramirez. In the washing of the water, will you take it all away? Bring me something to take this pain away.
Thank you so much, Jami. Very, very, very deep, very powerful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Alice Elizabeth Rogoff is co-editor of the Haight-Ashbury Literary Journal, author of several poetry books. She's written on a variety of social issues in magazines and anthologies, recently facilitated a poetry and conservation workshop at the Mendocino Environmental Center and belongs to the Save the Manatee Club.
I'm going to read 3 short poems about animals of the sea for the most part. The dolphin. The dolphin leaps, flashes, primal memory, archetype of mystical voyages, mythological islands, the high songs of dolphins like neurons leaping through the corridors of expansive rooms upon rooms in the houses of my dreams. The dolphin is a gestalt reduced to flesh, possible to crumble, genetic memory in nets coursing through the blood and brain stream as screams, mutilated dead dreams, empty seas, lost of vision, of harmonies as yet unheard. And this is called Going to Jupiter, Jupiter, Florida. Going to see manatees. Manatees swim in the hot water of the local power plant. A mural humorously praising the manatees' choice in bright colors and a comic style next to the African-American community living that is placed by the power plant, wondering when we drive away how any of us are going to survive on this strange planet. Seahorses. The 2 of us dance with our manes close together, turning bright gold. We entice, happily mate. Soon after, I bring all those eggs to place in his convenient pouch, and off I go, me, the female, to live my life as the male in my life takes care of all the living, growing seahorses. I do visit daily for what the biologists call morning greetings, swish my tail a bit, shake my mane, and then take a nice swim. So nice of him, and evolution.
Beautiful, Alice. Thank you so much. Our next poet is Sally Love Saunders, the author of Sally's Casserole. She is well known for her many readings and workshops and believes everyone is a poet and is a long-term and important member of the San Francisco Bay Area poetry community. So, Sally?
Thank you, John. Thank you. You make my heart sing, John. And Karen, thank you so much for putting this together and inviting me. I'm like a bird in a bird bath over here. Thank you. I've written a book of my collection of my poems about the ocean. I have another volume about fog and another one about surf and another one about, let's see, surf, fog, sand, and sand. So I'd like to share with you some poems here that I've written about the ocean. At Ocean Beach. The beach is like a large fireplace with white fur waves burning in the fireplace of the ocean. The white fire tumbles over invisible logs. The waves reach up, then double over with laughter. The waves roll over in the bed of ocean, longing for being held by a lover. I hear the water moaning and its heart pounding. I sigh and lots of oxygen from today tumbles out. My deep breathing calls the ocean to come. Cape Cod shores. Leaning against the wind, I stood enslaved, the sky unscarred by the city lights. The ocean was running away from the diving gulls, the driftwood like garbage of the sea, music subtle like the Orient, the lacy seaweed turning in time. I wanted to sing, so much to tell, for the air had made me drunk. Oh, I've lost track of time. How much time do I have?
Read another poem.
Ocean struggling to talk to me, stumbles and repeats what it wants to say over and over. Soon we will be connected and the stammering will stop and I'll go, ah. Is that it? Is that the end?
Whenever you're ready.
Oh, thank you. Sun pouring elegantly, golden wine onto the lips of the ocean. Ocean hums with pleasure. Sun rays tickling the ocean, tickling long and deep. The sun giggles and Long giggles.
Just do one final one.
Visiting the ocean, visiting by with the ocean, listening, laughing, enjoying the company of the ocean waves and foam. The ocean seems to me to be enjoying visiting, laughing, enjoying being with me. We are best friends. We don't have to do anything, just enjoying each other's company. Thank you so much for your ears, and I'm enjoying your poetry too.
Oh, thank you, Sally, so much.
Thank you.
So our next poet is Nina Serrano. She's a long-term Bay Area poet and producer of poetry radio programs on KPFA FM and now OSCAT Radio FM also. And she, in addition, she produces a multimedia series called Literary Dialogues with Nina Serrano. Nina? Can't hear you. Unmute, Nina. Good.
I said, thank you, John, and thank you, Karen, and thank you to all the poets that have gone before me. I've enjoyed all the poems. This is called A Love Song to Ocean. Walking along the seashore, feet in the water, cold, pounding surf splashing. Your immense body covers most of the globe. Life giver ruled by Earth's moon, polluted home to fish, eat fish, mammals and aquatic plants. Floating a plastic island as big as a nation. I have counted your waves coming ashore 7 deep. Will you rise with the ice caps melting, your temperature rising? Will you swallow our coastal cities? You are a threat and a comfort. By your side, my troubles disperse, despite the evidence of tossed tree trunks and giant rocks revealed in low tide. Your mystery and enchantment remain unchanged since my first salty swim in you, touch, taste, and smell. You are mighty, as real and essential as creation itself. All ponds, rivers, and lakes flow to you. Deities dwell in you. Your waves lifted me and put my feet back down. On a 4-deck ship, you jostled us around. Ghosts of other vessels lay on your deep bottom. Inspirer of legends and myths, mermaids sing your praise in hymns echoing on the sands. In your deafening presence, I am filled with prayer and consciousness. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Nina. Wonderful contribution to a great evening of poetry. Up next is Kim Shuck, the 7th San Francisco Poet Laureate. She now has 8 books out, and her laureate book, Deer Trails, was published by City Lights. Her latest book is Exile Hard, from That Painted Horse Press. So you're up, Kim.
Thank you, John. I'm pleased to be here. I'm going to go in a slightly different direction for the first of my 2 poems. This one's called Another Weight. Anita, Pinta, and Santa Maria have been carried overland for far too long. Each indigenous child handed a ballast stone at birth. 5 adults masked on shoulder, 4 young women untangling rigging, and elders folding sun-dried sails flaking with salt, walking the southern wagon trails to the Pacific like an unhealthy song, singing everyone west for all time. We've carried Chris in our pockets. Our shoes are muddied with him, word of him, our faces marked, our hands muscles sore, our voices frogged with songs of the lost. The planks have been sent out into the California surf, but they float back. Every October, they wash back up on shore. Not everything that's come out of the ocean has been delightful for us. So it's always a pleasure to read in Romantish territory. This is my last poem. Frog. When the first 4-legged frog cousin pulled herself out of water, it wasn't rejection. Soft, wet skin called her back again and again. Blood, a contract with water, a promise in the cells, a rattle we pick up and hand on, a moaning song that arches and clenches to bring our babies cradled in water. A gift returned, a rattle we pick up and hand over, one generation to the next. Thank you, everybody, for your incredible words. Thank you, John and Karen.
Oh, thank you, Kim, for everything, for your lifetime achievement, which is very great. So our next poet is Doreen Stock, who is also an activist and author of My Name is Why, a memoir of an anti-nuclear demonstrator. She lives between Argentina and the San Francisco Bay Area. Her other recent books are A Noise in the Garden and Your Excellency, Free Will, with Marcello Olo. Doreen?
Hi, I don't know, can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, good. The first poem I will read is a translation from the recently published book of Amparo Casabella's Alcanada's Argentine poems. Alcanada was part of a very historic family in Buenos Aires, and her father, Ramiro Casasbellas, attended Pablo Neruda's funeral. She was steeped in Neruda's work when she was growing up, and so this poem in her first collection was dedicated to her. It's surreal, and you can have glimpses of a shipwreck within it. Belt of the nocturnal earth, to the sea that Pablo Neruda sang of. Beating her fists, the wandering lady grasps and digs into every lament, exploring our souls for us, bringing childhood fears and night into our eyes. She inhabits the oblivion of the world, where little children of the earth whistle a song and root in the hollows. Visceral silence, flood tides, and in the bowels of the shipwreck, the little figureheads guess at what they will do, return from each departure to their pitiful root, where they howl embedded in vessels of pain. Millennial mantle of the earth, wounded palm of the moon. The world dies each time you close your traveling hands. And the second poem I'll read comes from my latest publication. It's called A Noise in the Garden, and it's a retrospective of about 7 or 8 years of work. The poem I'll read was written after a huge, it was a hurricane that Haiti suffered from, and I wrote it in 2016. It was Hurricane Matthew, I believe, and it involved huge sea surges, and it was written in response to that. It's called Man in Bed with Me. Man in bed with me. I turn, and there, in the place I'm reserving for you, should you ever get here, is he instead, a being so still, eyes so closed, body so washed, so clean, not breathing. On what wind, in which of night's envelopes has this cold islander come? After my morning prayers, I send money to those he has left behind. And that day, when I bake, roll, bless my bread, I will it into the closed bakery blown to bits in dark waves that once fed his family, and into the raging, rain-swollen earth to feed his strangled kingdom.
Wow, thank you, Doreen. Very, very, very strong and moving. Raymond, you ready? Raymond Nat Turner, the town crier, is a New York City poet privileged to have read at the Harriet Tubman Centennial Symposium. He is the artistic director of the stalwart jazz poetry ensemble, Upsurge NYC, which has appeared at numerous festivals and venues, including the Monterey Jazz Festival and Panafest in Ghana, West Africa. Raymond, you're up. Can't hear you, Raymond. Unmute, Raymond.
I'm muted. That's right.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just said I wanted to thank all the hosts for pulling together this wonderful event. And also I wanted to say that we probably, the sea lost to the Warriors tonight, perhaps. That's my thought in terms of our absentees and early departures and all that. That's just my way of looking at things. Might be a little truth to that. But anyway, I have 2 pieces I'm going to read. And one of them was inspired by a teenager who's been very prominent in the fight against climate catastrophe. And I think you know who she is. This first piece is called Reclaiming Our Time. for the planet. Grand Canyon bathtub rings tell us the Colorado rivers dropped over 150 feet. 20 years of drought and a wildfire a week, a nor'easter, superstorm, hurricane, tornado, typhoon, and tsunami over blackened birds, slimy, gooey, tar-balled waters, obligatory oil spills over corporate propaganda cycles, a delicious recipe for disaster. Whisker-sized particulate matters winning air superiority in pumpkin skies. Skies bees buzzed decks from. Skies hummingbirds and butterflies hung out in. Skies crows dropped from, jamming with pigeons and spying on stashing, gnashing squirrels. A place you could get a gallon of unleaded water that smelled drinkable. This was before Roundup Ready corporate propaganda cycles ejaculating Satan's sperm into our aquifers, before prioritizing our friends by stages, types of cancer they suffer. No need for nuance here. Let's say it simply, say it plainly. The kettle's been on the back burner whistling frantically for decades, warning of capitalist immolation, and the world can't wait. The world can't wait backwards for 21st century technology to catch up with 17th century ideology, can't wait in perpetuity on old mush-mouth men's mumblings on markets, 17th century catechisms covering 21st century climate crimes. The world can't wait for more inflated claptrap, more cleverly crafted lies, more methane promises, huffed and puffed, killing us softly with their carbon. And the last piece is called, came out of COP26. And that teenager I referred to is Greta Thunberg, who said all these MFing politicians are saying, I interjected that little colorful language there. They're just saying blah, 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 blah. And I think she's quite right. This is called The Drone Ranger Rides Again. And the epigraph is, quote, "His absence is good company," and it's a Scottish saying. Overriding the Hague from palatial $15 million hideout, the Drone Ranger galloped gangster style to Glasgow, setting foot in places war criminals Kissinger, W., Schmuck, Cheney, Rumsfeld et al. Avoided, like vampires avoiding sunlit crucifixes. The Drone Ranger galloped into Glasgow, saddlebags bulging with Wall Street bullion, fossil fuel talking points, methane promises for Pentagon prosperity, last days of Pompeo empire, fossil fuel extractors and emitters. The Drone Ranger galloped into Glasgow, posse of polluters, lynch mob of lobbyists, fossil fuel filibusters in tow, greenwashing corporate climate catastrophe, gaslighting Negroes and children with his giant carbon boot print, slogging over AFRICOM, squishing blood and oil each and every step. The Drone Ranger galloped into Glasgow, masked man masking school buses and hospitals he hit with Hellfire missiles as commander-in-chief, masking Afghan grandmothers smoked gardening okra with grandsons, concealing joy he vaporized, gifting Pakistani wedding parties, headless torsos, charred corpses, carbonized bodies. The Drone Ranger galloped into Glasgow, Negroes and children leaping like lepers to touch the blood-stained hem of his garment before he crooned as if campaigning for Hillary at the Apollo, going green, Al Green on them. I so in love with oil, and bringing down the house with his amazing gas, coal and oil. He's something of a singing cowboy, General Dynamics, Gene Autry, Raytheon's Roy Rogers. The Drone Ranger galloped into Glasgow, actor with enormous range, pompous professor to Iceberg Slim, head and shoulders above his hero, B actor Reagan, head and shoulders above bumbling W, and two above ultra ignorant rogue state thug boss Tweet, and head and shoulders above old Schmo, the angry boxer who took punches and bunches for fights too many. The Drone Ranger galloped into Glasgow, rogue state rock star, fooling some of the children some of the time. When he canters to COP 27, police state with pyramids, those babies will greet him with 365 more days beneath their belts for enhanced interrogation. How much carbon did each drone strike emit? How many greenhouse gases were unleashed, destroying Libya? What greenhouse gases does Guantanamo pump into our atmosphere? How much methane does bullshit emit? Merci beaucoup.
Knocked it out of the park, Raymond. There you go. So Nadya Williams is next, a poet and activist. She has long been active in Veterans for Peace, San Francisco, and many other organizations and struggles. So Nadya.
Thanks for hanging in there, everybody. Write poems, I'll read them, but I have two very short. To Chesapeake Dean and all the good fight. The first one is by someone else. The last one, the first one I found at the current exhibit at the Yerba Buena Arts, and I just really liked it. It's called Water. It's an excerpt from Dub. Pauline Dums. Remember, water is energy. It transforms, does not disappear. And once the hoses took the bark off the trees and the skin off the people, once they watched it on TV, the flashing off the Sunday dressed children, their sweat, their showers, their tears, their wet bed in the morning. We are charged. Any of us who shower, who drink water, all of us are charged. Alexine Gumbs, Gumbs, wrote that. Here's a really short one that I wrote. Oceans in Peril. Elephants are whales, both elegant sensitivity, ancient, intelligent, just rulers of animal kingdoms with the largest hearts on land and sea, both in peril. Listen to the songs of the whales, like the crying of the children. Oceans are in peril.
Oh, thank you, Nadya. It's beautiful. So I'm going to give it back to Karen Melander Magoon, who is going to give us some more words, and I think Peter and Richard are going to give us some more Chanteys, and Karen will close us out.
Thank you so much, John, and thank you, everyone. This has been a transformative evening, and I'm harking back to Raymond's words that we can't wait. We can't wait backwards. The kettle is shrieking. And I think that's a nice way to start wrapping up. I do have one more poem because I get two poems too. And I wanted to also thank you, Nadya, so much for coming in and talking about water and just giving us another perspective. Everyone gave us a different perspective, and I think that's so beautiful. Today I wrote something as a thank you to the ocean, and it's marine life that I would like to share as a love poem to the ocean, and somewhat a love poem also to my late husband, who devoted his life to the ocean and its coasts. It's called A World of Compassion. A whale breaches, sees people in a canoe, throws himself on his side to avoid crushing his fellow mammals. Another spouts a thank you to people who have freed him from a net. Porpoises seek help for an endangered child. The world of the ocean, more compassionate than we often imagine, reminds us that goodness threads itself throughout the universe, creating a woven carpet of possibility, an embroidered quilt of hope, sung in the song of the whale, echoing thousands of miles in high pitches and guttural moans, speaking a language we do not understand, yet empathize with its sounds, embrace its layers of love, its gentle cacophony of kindness, accept its quilt of caring as all living beings express themselves in varied ways, languages and gestures, senses and tones, knitting fraternal coats of many colors, threaded through with joy, woven garments wrapping the world in unexpected goodness. That should be our destiny and our common dream. Thank you. Well, we will close with another sea shanty from Peter and Richard. And again, I want to thank all of you this evening honoring. A few of you came just to listen, but most of you came to speak and transform us. So thank you for honoring our ocean, and especially for giving us your hearts and inspiration and thoughts on preserving and protecting this mother of us all, this ocean, which covers about 71% of the Earth's surface, gives us most of our oxygen, womb of life, essential to our survival, as well as our poetry. And thank you, John, for our wonderful Zoom host and co-moderator. It's been just great to have you here. And all of you for joining us in this Zoom room. So to Peter and Richard, I find that a great way to end up our evening with another shanty. And all of you, we bid farewell with this great song of the sea that is also part of our legacy. Thank you, everybody. Peter and Richard.
Okay, here's something a little bit lighter. This is called the Bosun's Alphabet. A is for the anchor that lies at our bow. B is for the bowsprit and the jibs all lie low. Oh, C is for the capstan, we all run around. D is for the davits to lower the boat down. So merrily, so merrily, so merrily sail we. There's no mortal on earth like a sailor at sea. Blow high or blow low as the ship rolls along. Give a sailor his grog and there's nothing goes wrong. E is for the earring when reefing we haul. F is for the forecastle where the bullies do brawl. Oh, G is for the galley where the salt junk smells strong. H is for the halyards we hoist with a song. So merrily, so merrily, so merrily sail we. There's no mortal on earth like a sailor at sea. Blow high or blow low as a ship rolls along. Give a sailor his grog and there's nothing goes wrong. I won't go through the whole alphabet. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, I'll do the closing shanty. This is a pumping shanty, and at the end of a voyage, you pump the excess water out of the hold of the ship, and you leave the ship. So this would be the closing shanty aboard the ship as well. It's called Leave Her, Johnny. Oh, the times was hard and the wages low. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. But now once more ashore we'll go, and it's time for us to leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. For the voyage is done and the winds don't blow, and it's time for us to leave her. Oh, the rats have gone and we the crew. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, it's time to go and go we too, and it's time for us to leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. For the voyage is done and the winds don't blow, and it's time for us to leave her. Oh, we hope we land and we hope it soon. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. We'll give a big thanks to Karen Magoon, and it's time for us to leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. For the voyage is done and the winds don't blow, and it's time for us to leave her. Oh, our ship carries lumber and our ship carries hay. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. And we're landing on World Ocean's Day, and it's time for us to leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. For the voyage is done and the winds don't blow, and it's time for us to leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. For the voyage is done and the winds don't blow, and it's time for us to leave her.
Thank you so much. Blessings to all of you, and what a wonderful way to close. I couldn't be happier, and thank you so much for joining us for this evening as a tribute to the ocean on Ohlone land. So blessings to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.